Hi, everybody. I am Branden Sewell. I'm the owner of Seal Pro Painting, located in Central Florida. I'm also the host of the Off the Ladder podcast, and we exist to help home service business owners learn so that they can lead well and ultimately live life off of the ladder. Today's guest is Megan, and she is the owner of Megan's Maids. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, so could you really quick just give a brief introduction to who you are, your business, and where you're located and what services you offer?
So my name's Megan. I own Megan's Maids LLC, and we're located in Central Indiana. And we offer residential and commercial cleaning services.
Awesome. And you said before the show you've been in business for 7 years, right?
Yes, I started when I was 17, and I was still in high school.
Oh, really?
hmm
That's awesome. So I'm assuming no college,
I'm in
just went.
college as well.
Oh, you're going to college. Okay, so
hmm
pursuing your degree at the same time.
hmm
So is that kind of like the goal is for your business to fund your college, and will you like transition into something else afterwards, or will you continue to run the business? What's kind of your long-term plan there?
So I have a scholarship, so I just really wanted to be like the first person in my immediate family to like get my degree. And I figure if
Awesome.
I have a scholarship, then why not? And it's like school
Yeah,
isn't like too hard for me anyways. So
sure.
because of that, it's like
That's awesome.
so I still want to be in business. I love my business. I love everything about it, but it doesn't hurt to learn more as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. So what kind of scholarship did you get, if you don't mind me asking?
Just one like through my state.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I know, like in Florida, where I graduated, they have like it's called Florida Bright Futures Scholarship. So
Yeah, it's
I
probably
think,
something like that. It's called the 21st Century Scholarship.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure it's probably something similar. Like you have to meet certain requirements, like certain GPA, and um, I think they even have like attendance requirements and
hmm
stuff like that. And if you meet all of those, then you can qualify for the scholarship. That's awesome. What are you studying?
Changes every day, it feels like, um, but I'm right now I'm studying business. I think it's like a general studies with business with accounting as well.
Okay. Do you feel like your studies with school help you to run your business, or do you feel like there's just like as a business owner, there's just challenges that school can't prepare you for?
Both, I feel like. So, since I was in high school, I've been taking college accounting classes, and I feel like that's
Okay.
very like a very big part of business is like knowing accounting and your money and just like all of that financial
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Sure.
Um, but I also learned different things like I thought I was great at spreadsheets before, and then I take these certain classes, and I'm like, whoa, like I just
Mm.
opened up a whole new world. Whereas a lot of other stuff is like you really have to learn by doing it. Anyone can read something and it can tell you what to do, but or like ABCD, which one's the best one? It may seem like this is the best one, but whenever it comes down to it, is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like business is like when it comes down to it, so much of it has to do with like developing your character as a person, because there's so many challenges that we face as business owners that I feel like school can't prepare you for. So obviously there's things that could help, I think, but I think the major challenges that we face go beyond like what school can, what value school can bring. So I know I've heard from some of the most successful entrepreneurs, even in the home services space, that have like master's degrees and things like that in finance and accounting, business administration, whatever. And most of the time they say that while their business degree might have been helpful to some extent, it couldn't prepare them for business and like the greater sense of the challenges that they face. Because there's things that, yeah, I think you have to go through it and have the experience to learn it, and
Yeah.
that's that's what like prepares you and helps you.
Yeah, I feel like
Um,
so much of it is just like common sense. Like business ethics. Like I said, which one would you choose? Well, it's usually really simple.
yeah.
But whenever you're actually faced with the things that are going on, it could be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, yeah. And I like to your point, I feel like sometimes when you're faced with like decisions that are going to challenge your ethics or your morals as a person, obviously, like when you do the right things, sometimes that hurts. And so it's the ability to make those right decisions, understand how they're going to affect your business in the long run, and not just focus on like the right here and now. And I talk about that a lot on the show. It's it's really it's opportunity costs. I mean, you make a decision today that saves you, let's say, $150, but it's costing you because you're tarnishing your reputation by not making a decision to, like, let's say, do what's right with a customer when that you made a mistake, or you're not owning up to something that was your fault, and then it costs you in the long run. That person, how many people are they connected to? How many of their family members, friends, co-workers will never use your services because you've lost them as like a referral, or anytime they talk about your business or see it, it's going to be something negative associated with it rather than something positive. So I think it's as business owners, we really have to take a step back and see the bigger picture and understand how important our relationships are with customers, employees, and that doesn't mean that we won't make mistakes, but I think we can always try to do what's right and make things right, even when we make mistakes, right? And that's
Yeah,
what matters.
I always try to like even if I have 100, 200 clients, it's like I want to treat every single one of my clients like they're my first client, and it's like I've
That's good.
tried really hard to work on my relationships with everyone, and like we give out like Halloween gifts and just like Easter gifts, and just like I try to be personable with every single person and not just treat them like anyone else. Um, and so that too, if a mistake arises, then I always try to own up to it and fix it. But it's like I have also run into some people who will target small businesses because they know, they're like, this is a small business, and I can just say whatever, and maybe it's someone who wants a cleaning for free, whatever it is. It's like I've run into those people too,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like you can do so much, but at the end of the day, you also have to learn like when to put your foot down and to understand, like, I know I didn't do you know anything wrong, or we offered to make it right, and if this person still wants to go and say things about us, then okay, I've done what I can do.
Yeah, that's good. Let's kind of circle back really quick, because I think this is a really interesting point of your story, is that you started when you were still in high school. So you said you were 17, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So let's kind of dive into that. Maybe somebody's listening to this podcast, and maybe they're a young person wanting to start a business, or maybe there's somebody who is listening to this and they have a kid, and they want them to be able to start a business or help their child become an entrepreneur. What did that journey look like for you? What like inspired you to get started? What were the challenges getting started when you were that young? Like, what did that look like for you?
So I actually, the way that I started was really a little bit different, because whenever I was younger, so I was 17 then, but at like 12, 13, I started like dog walking, stuff like that. But I
Mm-hmm.
also would like go and clean for one of my neighbors. And she
Mm-hmm.
was older, and that's a whole long story, but like I learned, how to do that because of her, helped like take care of her. But then I got older and I was a server, had a car and everything, and as I'm a server, then I had a boyfriend at the time, and it ended up being an abusive relationship. And
Mm-hmm.
he was a lot older than me, and just all these things, and he didn't like that I worked at the Steak and Shake. I was a server there, and that there was men there. So I pretty much had to come up with a way of like, I need to work. How can I, have a job and not be around men?
Mm-hmm.
So I just kind of looked into it more, and I was like, I could clean. I was like, I did it for my neighbor before. I'll start cleaning. Um, and so I did start to do that. Um, Sorry, I'll turn this off. So I was like, I can start cleaning, and I did. And it was definitely hard to get clients at first because I was still in school, but it also like worked to my benefit because since I was in school, they're like, this is just a kid, it's like I'm young. They're like, she just wants to work. Um,
Right.
but I also learned, which I didn't know, I guess a lot of my clients were like setting up traps because like they didn't know me, and I was offering like $40 cleans, so they're like, what is this girl doing, like, like,
Mm-hmm.
why does she want to clean for $40? Oh my goodness. And
Sure.
later on I went to read, and these people are like, she's great, I trust her. They're like, we left like a $30,000 ring out and money, and I was like, I don't, I didn't know because I don't, that never even crossed my mind.
Sure.
um but I learned from that. And I mean, it got to be so busy from those $40 cleans. I tell you what, I had girls helping me work because I was in high school, so I was a junior, and I was in cosmetology school, and I would go and clean. So
Mm-hmm.
sometimes while I was in cosmetology school, they would go and clean, on my behalf and all that stuff. But doing that is really like what taught me how to clean, on top of like having a family friend to like teach me her own things.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot, like, so many people, whenever I did this, and it was kind of surprising to me, is they'd like pull me aside and be like, you missed this. And I'm like, what? Like,
Mm-hmm.
and you really wouldn't think like for $40 like people would be like, look, you missed this. And I mean, there's like three of us at your house, we're making like $10 at the end of the day. And but they did, and because of that, it taught me a lot of things, because they're like, look over here and look under this, and I'm like, huh, okay. So that taught me so many things. And then about 2 years later, I get out of my relationship, and I had to, I just kind of stopped because like I hadn't been social in a long time. I couldn't have any friends, all that kind of a thing. And I would just clean for like my regular clients. Uh, I had like really bad anxiety about stuff because all of a sudden I developed PTSD, and I didn't know what it was at first.
Mm-hmm.
So I was getting these messages from clients, and they're like, you forgot to make my bed. And I'm like, what? Just like things like, you do this every single time whenever you clean, and now you're not doing it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was really afraid to get new clients during that time because I was like, I don't want to forget, like what I'm doing. So
Yeah.
I went and I stopped for a little bit, and I went and worked in a restaurant, and then I was a preschool teacher for a little bit. And I was like, like this was like 2 years later. Um, I was like, I miss cleaning. And so, I started advertising for it again, and it didn't take but like a week of me, just advertising it. And I mean, I was fully booked. I had to hire someone immediately, and, you know, haven't been able to stop having someone with me since then.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah. Well, that's really inspiring, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that, experience when you were so young. But really, like, it's a testament to your strength as a person to get through that challenging time and to like persevere and to continue to excel in your business and, stay on that path. And, I think really at the end of the day, like, as entrepreneurs, we have to be strong people. And so, a lot of times I think entrepreneurs have situations or circumstances that, shape them into that person who has that resilience and like tenacity to take on business. So, So props to you for that, and going through that journey. So you know, fast forward, you go through that season of challenge, you hire on people, your business is growing, to now you have how many employees that are working with you?
7.
Okay, so you got 7 employees. From a cleaning standpoint, like what does that look like as far as like how many jobs you guys take on like in a given day or week? I'm not familiar with like how much cleaning 7 people can do, but I would assume that's quite a bit.
Yeah, so it just depends. I think it's like 7 or 8 actually. I don't remember. I always get the
Mm-hmm.
numbers mixed up. But usually, so with that, we can do. It just depends on the house size. But if there's 2 people, let's say, I can easily send 2 people to 3 houses. So then I
Okay.
can have a team of two, a team of two, and then even a team of 3. So I could do 2, 4, 6, or 3, 6, 9 houses a day,
Okay.
etc.
Oh, that's awesome. And so I'm assuming you just have, do you have like a particular way that you set up your services? Is it like a weekly, monthly, or do you guys have like a mix of the type of cleanings that you guys do?
Yeah, so we do it based on what the client wants and needs. So
Okay.
if you just want us to come by one time, we'll come by one time. If you want us there monthly, we'll do it monthly. If you want us there every 3 weeks, we can do that. Bi-weekly, weekly. The only thing is that we'll always try to keep it, if you do something recurring, we'll keep it on the same uh, dates and times if we can. So even if you're monthly, we might do the last Friday of every month, or for bi-weekly, every Thursday in the morning time, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure. Now, I'm I can't remember. I think we connected through the Jobber Entrepreneurship group on Facebook. Do you use Jobber for running your business?
Yes.
Okay. So, I'm just curious, are you on which plan do you use for yours?
The
Are you
most
on the Grow?
expensive one, whichever
The
one that
Grow?
is, yeah.
Yeah. I have a lot of people that ask me about that. They're like, "Oh, is the Grow plan, really worth it?" I'm like 100%, especially if you're gonna use everything that it has to offer. Like if you're gonna set up the Grow plan and not utilize all the features, then maybe not, but I will say, like, if you use the Grow Plan and you use all the features that it has to offer, it will help your business to be more efficient and make you more money. So I think it's like a no-brainer.
Yeah, so I also my fiance also owns a business, and I have been telling him for I told him for like 2 years, maybe it's a year, I don't know. Get Jobber. I'm like, please get Jobber. And he did not want to, so he went and he had paper everything. It was
Yeah.
driving me crazy. And eventually, out of the blue one day, he was like, I decided to get Jobber. I was like, okay. But now I help him run his business as well. So, like, I do the admin work for him. And
Okay.
he actually had the cheaper version of Jobber at first. And he just switched over because they gave him like a free trial of it for a week or two. And he was like,
Hmm.
I can't, like live without it. Um,
Right.
but I think that the biggest thing too that I noticed just from that experience is, so whenever he was sending people like, here's your quote, here's your invoice or whatever through the text messaging, because it'll let you do that even if you're not
Hmm.
in the bigger plan, was that people were sitting there responding to him and he didn't know,
Oh, okay.
for like the entire time.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah.
and I'm like, you have no idea, like how many, people who even could have just texted back and said yes, and you didn't know. So I feel like it's definitely worth it, even if it's just like for just that specific purpose.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I mean, there's so many features that I use on the Grow that I couldn't live without. Um, But you did mention, so we have a service contract that we do. So there's reoccurring, like revenue, reoccurring jobs. Um, can you kind of walk through like how the reoccurring jobs work for you? Like, do you like that feature with Jobber? And is it pretty simple for you guys to like set somebody up for a reoccurring visit? And do you do automatic payments and like require a card on file for your cleanings, or how does that work?
I probably should require a card on file, but I don't. I have been trying to recently set it up so that I go and like either edit, or I make it so that all the cleans are, once the job is completed, it will at least send the invoice, just because I get paranoid and I'm scared that the girls are gonna just like click complete one day on accident, and then I'm gonna, be so sorry about it. Um, but it's really easy to set it up. I think you just go to it's not the one-off jobs, but you click the other button, and then you just click uh, weekly, however many weeks you want it to be, what day, what time,
Mm-hmm.
etc. So I mean, it's really easy.
Yeah. So we, with our painting service contract, we have like a annual or a monthly option. And we require the card on file, and then we just have it set up to where it just bills at that same time, like annually or monthly. And it definitely saves like a lot of time and concern with the billing, and the customer just already knows like, hey, your card's going to be on file and this is when it's going to be charged and for how much. So I really like that. And honestly, so it's funny, I've got a guy who does my lawn, and he doesn't use any type of like CRM um, or anything like that. And to be honest with you, since I have the experience I do have as a business owner, which I've talked to him about this, like it's actually kind of like frustrating for me that I'm not on like reoccurring, because then I have to like go in and like pay every month, and it's something I have to think about, and I don't want to have to think about it. I just
Mm-hmm.
want it to like, I want you to get the money that's going to require you to show up, and then just show up and do the work and like kind of set it and forget it type thing. um and but unfortunately he doesn't do things that way, and I mean it's fine, but if I had a preference from like a customer um point of view, I'd be like, hey, please, like, just put me on reoccurring revenue. Here's my card. Like, charge it at the same time every month, and just show up. Like, the
Yeah.
only way we're gonna have a problem is if you don't show up after I've paid.
Yeah, I have a couple of people who have asked for me to do that because they're like, it's fine, we trust you, etc. But I know, like, in the cleaning field especially, so, like, I'm very big on, like, I don't want to do that at least for the first cleaning, because people just have trust issues with house cleaners, because there's a lot of people, because anyone can say, hey, I know I can clean. But there's a big difference between professional cleaning and then just like, I've cleaned my house before, so I'm going to come clean yours.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why there's a lot of like horror stories involved with cleaning. And because of that, I want to like reassure people like, I'm, not like that, and I'll show you.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. Yeah, I mean, maybe you could create a policy that, like, after the first clean, or like after so many cleans and trust is established, maybe you like put it in a contract or somewhere that, like, after this clean, a card will be required on file. Just to, for ease of um, the customer relationship and everything, and managing that. So I don't know, just a thought, but anyway, um, you know, to kind of just drill home the point, like I think any home service business owner should use some type of CRM, and I think Jobber's obviously like a really great option for people. What type of business does you said it's your fiance?
Mm-hmm.
What type of business does he have?
He owns a tree business.
Okay, so like tree removal.
Tree removal, trimming. He just got a crane. I don't know. He does something with that, I think.
I gotcha. That's awesome. Um, so let's dive into this topic. So you've got obviously, I think just with the home services in general, a big challenge is finding employees and retaining them. And I think there's probably some trades that have more of a struggle than others. Um, but I would imagine with cleaning it might be, uh, somewhat of a challenge to keep people. Could you talk about your experience with like hiring and how you handle employee retention and things like that?
Yeah, so with hiring, I'm very picky about who I hire. 8 times out of 10, it's usually someone that already works with us. It's someone that they know, even if it's through like a friend of a friend. Um, so it's someone that I can like ask, like you really know them and you trust them, kind of a thing. But a lot of it too is like personalities, because with us right now, I mean, we're all females, and it can be like high school sometimes, and it's hard because I'm like, some of these girls are older than me, and I'm their boss. So
Hmm.
that's definitely fun. But like, I just really thought of it as like, okay, whenever I, had bosses that I really didn't like, what was it that they did that I just like can't stand? I'm like, okay, try not to do these things. But one of the things is like I went and I researched like how much do you know house cleaners make in my area. Okay, pay them all more than that. Done. And then on top of that, I'm very like lenient with them about days off, and if you need to come in late or leave late. um, I always tell them, as long as you put in a request, just know like 9 times out of, I mean, it's approved. It's like I want them to know, like, if they have to go do something or if they just want a day off, like you can do that without like lying to me about it, et cetera, et cetera. And because of that, I feel like that definitely helps people be happier, because they don't have to worry about like getting points or this or that. It's just like, I know as long as I ask, a week or two in advance, I'm fine. Um,
Yeah.
and then like because of that, like I don't have people, oh, I'm sick, like they don't like just lie and say that they're sick if they're not, because of that. On top of that, let me think. I just try really hard to like keep a what's it called, like a good environment. We do like a lot of like team building stuff together, and communication skills, and just like learning how to work with everyone. And I make the girls do stuff that they don't want to do, but at the end of the day, like, it helps them, because a lot of them have anxiety, this, that, etc. um, so like a lot of them are just like, oh my goodness, I haven't worked with her very much, I don't know if I want to go work with her. And I'm just, okay, you're going to go work with her for a month then, or whatever it is, and then you guys are going to love each other, and that's how it ends up being. um,
Yeah.
but it's like, I mean, I have had like no issues at all with keeping my girls. I'm there. I listen to them. We discuss things. So like if they tell me things like I think this should change, I always take everything into account and like think about it and discuss with them, and things like that. So like if there's ways that we can improve, they're like, I want them to tell me. Just like to be open with me. I feel like that's a big thing. Is like you have to be able to have that like mutual respect with your team in order to like really keep people. Because if you have people just like in and out and just like, oh, I'm gonna say I'm sick this day, but then go do whatever I want. Well, at the end of the day, all that does is hurt you, because then you have cleans, or if you paint, then jobs that you're either going to take you a lot longer, or you're not going to be able to get to. Your clients are either going to be upset, or your workers are going to be upset because of that. It's like you just gotta like learn like the in between of everything, I feel like.
Yeah. I think that empathy goes so far as a business owner with like employee retention. And, at the end of the day, we're small businesses. We're not like huge corporations. So I think there's a little bit of a difference. If we try to act too much like a giant corporation, we can kind of lose what's enticing to people like to work for a small business. Um, and I think, like, for me, I just always try to stay humble and remember, like, my employees are people just like me.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about things like days off and leaving early and and things like that. I'm the same way. I'm super understanding, and I try to remember, like, and even take like my own personal situation into account, is like there's been things that have happened, like for me as a business owner, that is like super unpredictable, out of my control. But of course, it has like maybe a negative effect on my customers because of like scheduling or having to reschedule. And there's things in life that I just like, it's out of my hands, right? So
Mm-hmm.
at the end of the day, I try to remember that my employees have a life outside of work. Like they have families, they have, you know, things that happen, that obviously could be like a hindrance to them mentally, whether that's like family members passing away, friends passing away, or whatever. Like that, life is not just like cut and dry, and so I try to obviously keep that like in my mind. And I love that you mentioned that you try to go back to like when you were an employee and remember bosses that you didn't prefer, right? And try to be the opposite of that. And that's something that I do as well. I remember I worked for somebody and I never felt appreciated. And I worked like crazy amounts of hours and never got a thank you or you're doing a good job. It was always just about like the performance in general. Like, um, and so anyway, that was really challenging for me. And I always just decided like when I'm a business owner that I'm not going to treat people that same way. Um, so I think that's a really great place to start. And obviously, you want to um, set some type of like standard and boundaries, but just understand like that can't be like, there has to be room for like some leniency and gray area, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because yeah, life is unpredictable and it's not cut and dry. So that's awesome. So when you think about your business, what do you think the future looks like for your business? What are some of your goals and aspirations for growing your cleaning company? And I know we talked about this before, but you're going to school. Like, do you think that um, you know you'll keep this business? Do you have plans of starting any other businesses? What does the next let's say 3 to 5 years look like for you?
Hopefully, I get married finally.
I
But
gotcha.
uh, I'm, it's like right now I'm really working on like the here and now, which is making sure that everyone is happy with my workers. Like getting us more cleans because we were really good with cleans. We needed like a handful more, and then like we would have been fully booked. But then I had a lot of our clients. For like one particular week, it was really weird. Which it happened over like a period of time, but all these clients that were biweekly in this one week were like, "Can we switch to the next week?" And then over time, I'm like, "Oh my goodness! Like we have like no cleans this week." And then our
Mm-hmm.
next week is like slammed with cleans. And then we lost like two clients because of financial issues or whatever. It was nothing that we did. And so like right now I'm trying to build that back up for us, which has been going great.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, I feel like it's always like within my team first, and then like as a whole for a business. So like right now, like everyone wants like they always break the vacuums, so they just like need like a million vacuums. I feel like I want to just go stock up on some vacuums. Like I'm so tired of like buying new ones and all that
Sure.
stuff. I'd rather just like here you go, take them, and you can be happy for a while now.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff like that, and then moving on to like okay, like I just gave everyone a raise. I want to give everyone a little bit more of a raise and do some more training with them because it's always about like learning more. Even once you feel like you know everything, like there's still more that you can learn.
Mm-hmm.
In like every business, I still learn new stuff. I watch TikTok all the time and I see techniques I try it and I'm like, oh my goodness, I had no idea, so it's like you just learn stuff. And after that would be like the company cars, the this, the that, maybe you know just growing even bigger, because I mean we have the office space for it, we have everything for it. Cars would be nice, but it's also a pretty big purchase, so I don't know.
Right.
But it's just like growing, making sure everyone's happy, and then from there, growing on to more employees. Because it's like since the beginning, it's like I could easily have 20 employees, but like I choose not to realistically, because I don't want to just like blow up overnight. It's like I would
Sure.
rather like take my time and be like, okay, like everyone like knows like no one is like confused. Everyone knows each other. Everyone has ample time for training, and I'm able to get that like one-on-one with my clients so much more, I feel like, than just
Hmm.
like like mass, just like getting cleans and advertising, etc., etc. Because I could at any time, but it's like I choose not to, because like I don't want that. I'd rather it be like, okay, we have 7 now, then 10, 12, 15, and then just keep growing from there, and not just all at once.
Yeah, that's good. I think that it's, even for people who are listening to this, I think it can be tempting to, follow hype that you see online, or, you see other companies who have quick growth, and, kind of to look at that and be like, oh, wow, that's enticing. But the reality is, I think doing what you're doing is the smarter option, which is, and I think there's a lot to that. It's not just about, the business and your employees and all of that, but I think it also comes down to like, um, you're not every other business owner, right? So like you're different. Um, you have to put you first too, right? And focus on your mental health, your health in general as the business owner, and grow in a way that's going to be, beneficial to the whole business. I think about that a lot of times for myself. I'm like, if I wanted to, I could, grow. I could be, much bigger than I am now. But I often weigh out the costs, like, okay, well, if I do this like super fast, what is that going to look like for me, health wise, for my relationships in my life, for things that I enjoy doing that fill me up and like give me energy? Is it going to take away from that? How's my mental health going to be if I decide to, double in 6 months? Like, what does that look like? And I actually was listening to an interview not too long ago. It's an entrepreneur. His name is Jesse Itzler. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His wife actually is, I think her name is Sarah Blakely. She like invented Spanx. But anyway, he's a successful entrepreneur as well. And I was listening to an interview from him, and he's like, I get these people who reach out to me, like, I guess for like mentorship or something, and they say they want to grow their business. They're like, oh, I want to 10x my business. And he's like, why? Like, do you really want that? Like, if you were to 10x your business tomorrow, would you really be happy? Is that really what you want, or are you just, chasing the clout, the hype? Do you just want it to be able to say, oh, I have a, business that's $10 million,
Mm-hmm.
um, and but in reality, your relationships suffer. You spend no time with your kids. You don't have fun. You're constantly, depressed and anxious, and so then it's like,
Right.
well, what's the point of that?
Right, and I feel like too is like training is so expensive, and people I feel like a lot of the times don't realize that it is very
Hmm.
expensive unless you just hire people and throw them in without them knowing what to do, like properly. Because with us, like it takes time to learn this stuff. It's not overnight, and even then, it's still like consistent like training and going back over things and relearning things sometimes, or learning new things. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but that too, it's like with every single client, if I go get 50 clients tomorrow or 100 tomorrow, I only have one chance to make my first impression on them. What, for the call message, however they want to hire me, as well as for the cleaning. And if I don't succeed in one or both of those, then they're probably never going to call me again. So, why would I, put myself in that position to where it's like, I know that, like the level of care that I'm going to be able to give you is not going to be as much as all of our other clients that, have stayed with us for so long and, like we obviously do pretty well at. Um, it's like I don't want to ruin those potential clients. I'd rather wait until we're ready and, just like I work on like our services, no, our service process, I think is what it's called. I forget, but it's like a step by step of like every single thing of like this is how you do it. This is, like everything for our business. It's like, a guide, and like I take time to work on that, and a handbook, and just like all these other different things. And it's like I feel like you definitely should at least be working on that if you're not, or even already have one done before you're like, oh, I'm so ready to, get so big in my business. It's like, okay, but, like, do you have your, I think processes, systems and processes is the word. Do you have your systems and processes wrote down? Like, does every single person know what to do? Do you know how to hire people correct, the same way for everyone, to train people the same way? It's like a lot more than just hiring, and just
Yeah.
and getting clients. It's so much more than that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think it's like creating a really solid foundation. And unfortunately, like, this is really fresh for me. I had somebody on the podcast, and like they were all over like national news for growing this business, um, and they were all over like other people's podcasts talking about their success, and they were this supposedly this huge company just doing amazing things, and come to find out like this business just failed, like huge failure. Like they were like supposedly like $100 million business, and now they're like going bankrupt. And it just, and so you look at that and you're like, wow, like this person that like seemingly was doing so well, was having this really really fast growth, just due to some actually really great marketing. Turns out that they just imploded, and so I think like I think it's important to like not compare yourself to other people. Don't look at like what everybody else is doing. Of course, like want to do better, want to grow, but like you're saying, do it in a healthy way. Focus on those foundations. Don't forget what matters a lot to you as a business owner, like providing an incredible service, and creating a great customer experience where your customers are served well and taken care of. And I think if you lose sight of that, then that's how it can kind of get unhealthy, and you can grow too fast, and it ultimately not really be good for yourself or your customers. Um, but I think keeping that priority of the customer experience and customer satisfaction, keeping your employees healthy, and training them well is key for being really successful. So yeah, I mean, I think that's really cool. I think it's admirable that you actually care that much, to like not be willing to like grow at the expense of like your reputation and everything. So caring about your customers is obviously very important. So anyway, I thank you for your time. I want to bring this to a close, and I want to kind of open it up here as we're wrapping up to just, if there's anything that you feel like you could share that is of value. Do you have any last words that you'd want to share with somebody who's listening to this? That could be like advice for like maybe somebody starting or somebody who's, running a business? What would be maybe like a last bit of value that you would share with them?
Sure. Well, finishing off of what we were just talking about is, like you said, don't look at what everyone else is doing, because especially a lot of the people, I'm sure that there's a lot of painters who, are out there and they have podcasts and they're like, we're great, we're this, we're that. And at the end of the day, whenever you really look into it, it's all just a marketing scheme. They're
Mm-hmm.
all just trying to sell you the product, which is a training of theirs. And 9 times out of that's how they make their money, because
Mm-hmm.
they want you to buy that service, and you're going to be the one buying it. So don't, the lifestyle of the my business is so big, I have so much money, etc., is all part of the marketing of it. So you
Mm-hmm.
can't look at them and, feel like that's what you should be like. Um,
Right.
but other than that, I feel like no matter what service, that you get into, I feel like everyone really needs to do research on it first. That's what I tell everyone who comes to me is I tell them, make a spreadsheet, write down your competitors, write down, the average cost of things, do research, look into it for numerous things, start your handbook before you start your business, so that whenever you do get started, um, you're not overwhelmed with so many different things. It's like try your best to make it easier for you. So like if you're even starting a job, a business part time, whenever you have free time, start on your foundation, start researching, learn how to paint, learn how to clean. It takes a lot of time, and it's not just something that you can jump into as much as it may seem like it, or as much as you may want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good. I think that, obviously, like one of the reasons for starting a podcast like this and wanting to help people is like trying to help people avoid the mistakes that I made early on in my business. And it's kind of like what you were talking about, like not having a strong foundation when I started. Um, not understanding, how to charge properly for services, not having, a employee policy handbook, or having key performance indicators for different job positions, and the list goes on. And even like something as simple as having like your values and your mission written out, like a mission statement, so that you have like a vision of like where you're going and what you want to create. And those things are all things that I added like years later after starting my business. And in hindsight, I'm like, man, if I would have done those things from the beginning, I would have had such a better foundation for success moving forward, where it was like I kind of had to stumble and fall a little bit and then seek out help, implement those things, and then, go forward again. So, like, if you're listening to this and you're either a new business owner, or maybe you're somebody who's wanting to start a business, like, please take this advice, work on those things early on, get those foundations set up, be very sure about who you are and what you want to accomplish. Don't compare yourself to others, and then put in the hard work that it requires to become successful in your business. And also remember that slow and steady wins the race. I know there's also there's a, what is the word that I'm looking for? There's something that Navy SEALs say. It's a saying. They say slow is what do they say? It's slow is smooth. Actually, I'm gonna look it up because I think they say fast is smooth and slow is, I don't know. Let me look it up. But it's a good saying, and I want to share it.
Like for instance, my fiance with his tree business, he's doing really well, but he'll come home so many times and he's frustrated and upset, and he's venting to me because he's like, man, these ground guys, they're doing this and that. And every time I ask him, I say, Michael, do you have like their job written out? Do you have like, okay, if this is happening, this is what this person should be doing? He's, oh no, Michael, do you train your workers, Michael? They should just know. Like, oh my goodness. I'm like, like he drives me crazy. But it's like like especially for him and for other jobs, like people who may not realize it, and people who just think like, oh, it's common, or you should know. It's like, but it's not. And as a business owner, I feel like we forget a lot of the times that as much as you may know everything about painting and every single thing and how to do it, your workers aren't going to know every single thing as well. And let's say you're sick one day, you can't be there, God forbid something bad happens and you can't talk to anyone. Like, do your workers know how to go about every single possible like scenario and how to like manage it if you can't be there for a couple of days? Or like, are you going to completely fail? It's like so many different reasons. But
Yeah, and I think that just emphasizes like documenting everything, documenting your processes and how everything works, and that's obviously going to help you to hire people and help them to succeed in their positions. So that's really good. I found that saying, it's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And, so I think, a lot of us, we want to just kind of like, we have this destination, we have this mission, and we're like, okay, I'm just going to blaze my way there. And, doing that way, you make a lot of mistakes, you fall down. And I think the point here is like, you can avoid all of that with like really good training, really good planning, and having like a foundation set. So, and then just, taking action, implementing, the plan, implementing, the training, and then, you can have that smooth growth trajectory. You're going to get where you want to, but with less pain and suffering. So anyway, I'm going to bring this to a close. I hope that whoever's listening, you found value in today's episode. Thank you so much for your time, Megan, and everything that you've been able to add to the listeners. If you're listening to this on YouTube, I would greatly appreciate if you would like this episode, comment on it, share your feedback, share it with somebody else so that they can learn from it. Also, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you'll be made aware of the next episodes that are coming out. And lastly, if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other major podcast platform, please rate and review the show so that we can get the show in front of more people. If you need any resources for your business, one of them, like Megan and I talked about today, is Jobber, and how necessary they are for a business. If you need that resource, look in the show notes below. Use my link. I do get credit for those, just so you know, but I do appreciate if you use my link to sign up for a free trial or sign up to use those services. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time on the next episode of the Off the Ladder podcast.